Welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices, where we are sitting here discussing Amanda Seale's Jubilees surrounded by 20 Black conservatives. And there were several topics that she did use in this debate, if you will. And one of the top topics was Black on Black crime. And so conservatives often cite this as the reason to critique movements like Black Lives Matter, but Seals reframed the issue as a result of underinvestment and over-policing in Black communities. So one of the questions that I do have is, in what ways can we reimagine public safety beyond policing?
To me,
Wait a minute, you got to, and the reason I'm over here looking at you is because you were a Black Panther.
that's right.
And you saw some things back then where the police were over-policing. So how can we reimagine this?
Well, first off, safety, the issue of safety has always been a concern in the Black community. Because in the past, if you call the law, because you see some crime going on in the Black community, you might get arrested for calling the cops because of the racial atmosphere in this country. So people were very hesitant about calling the police for a very long period of time, figuring they wouldn't be believed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so public safety has been replaced with the idea that calling the police ain't going to do any good. They might arrest a whole bunch of people that had nothing to even do with the situation. And number one, we need to talk about white-on-white crime as far as that goes.
We will. We'll be talking about that during our hot topics.
So, especially white-on-white crime in little towns. Little towns are notorious for serial killers in white communities. So, I mean, you can't, as Ta-Nehisi Coates, famous Black author, did the Black Panther series and so forth. He talked about people who moan and yell about black-on-black crime do so because they're powerless to address the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is you can't have a ghetto created by outsiders. The ghetto not created by Black people. The ghetto was created by segregation. You can't have a ghetto and not expect for poverty and crime to be a problem. You have to expect that. Black people didn't create the ghetto. Jim Crow law and segregation created the ghetto. Mm-hmm. So just to concentrate on black crime is a mistake. Yeah, you ought to be concerned about Black people killing each other. You ought to be concerned about anybody killing somebody. But to just say it's an issue of black on black crime does not address the bigger picture.
Yeah. And again, I think one of the opportunities missed is just the simple explanation that most crimes are crimes of proximity. And so white people kill white people because white people are around white people. Black people kill Black people because Black people are around Black people. Latinos kill Latinos because Latinos are around Latinos. And so most crimes, especially violent crimes, are really just crimes of proximity and opportunity.
You know, when you start thinking about statistics, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in this word, marketing, because what we're seeing Trump do is market some statistics. Now, how the statistics comes down is how those numbers are manipulated. So we're going to take the number 200. There were 200 murders in small town Mississippi. There were 200 murders in Chicago. Okay? What happens is that the media says there were 200 crimes in Chicago. You don't talk about the 200 crimes in small town Mississippi. In that town, there may be 3,000 people. Well, statistically, 200 murders, that's going to be a high statistics versus the millions of people, in Chicago, and 200, murders.
Exactly.
So so they're playing with how people see numbers. And I'm not saying that there isn't black on black crime, but it's an easy target to hone in on if you're trying to justify, in this case, policing Chicago, policing Houston. policing LA, policing any large city where there's a high population of blacks.
Well, I mean, and that's always been the case, right? And so one of the opportunities I think was also missed is understanding how systems think in terms of race, or you know what I mean. And so, yeah, the manipulation of numbers, but just to give even more, because they had a problem with the idea of systemic racism.
Yeah,
They didn't. Yeah,
that was disturbing.
That was very disturbing that they didn't understand how systems think in race. And so, I'll give an example, right? Another example of not just of over policing, but how systems. The name Jamal is rejected by AI automated applications 33% more than any other name.
It might be because it's black or Arab.
just Jamal. And so if you think about the name, how systems think in color and race, right? So any kind of African American names, right, are rejected at a much higher percentage. Jamal came out 33% higher than everybody else. If your name's Jamal, you can forget about applying, right? But again, when you think about how systems think, or for instance, Citibank, right? Or where banking and finance. We are unable to send cushy offers of interest rates based on color, sex, religion, all that kind of stuff, right? But we can send them by zip code. As long as everybody in the zip code gets the same offer, we're good, right? You don't think we know the zip code of Alamo Heights and Denver Heights? Or Terrell Hills and Dinwiddie Hills? You know what I mean? Or 90210 in Beverly Hills, or Worth Avenue in Palm Beach? So that's how systems think in terms of code and racism.
Right.
We know how to make the rich richer, and how to get the rich people the cushy offers and exclude black people from them. So there are a lot of ways to play with numbers and statistics and how systems think in terms of race. And so I think the idea that these people are unable to comprehend that, or the systemic manipulation, or how we can tell who you are by what you purchase, because everything you purchase or who you purchase from has a merchant code, right? So we can tell if you buying do-rags and wave grease. You know what I mean? We know who you are. You know what I mean? And so we know what offers to send you based on your previous purchases. And so you can't hide your blackness.
Yeah. And
so that's how systems, how we now have moved into the algorithmic forms of racism. So racism is still prevalent. And, even though it's moved into the digital realm.
So basically, if we live in 782, I'm going to say 00.
Okay.
Okay. And it's been identified as a high populace, has a high populace of blacks living in that community, then because you live in there, then it's a no-go.
Pretty much. If you want that 3% interest rate offer, you're not getting it. Yeah.
Or crime is being viewed higher in this area.
And that's how we allocate
the
policing. Right. And so that's how systems think in terms of race.
That's a really great point. And I'll tell you, when I was a city councilman, unfortunately, when I was a city councilman, that people were complaining about certain types of crimes that were higher in one area or another. So I actually had them do some statistical study, and it turned out that in those white suburbs, the crime of pedophiles was much higher than any black community. But they wanted to stay away from that statistic. And so you almost took the words right out of Malcolm X's mouth when he said the media was very shrewd at painting the black community by using statistics. And I think he did that in his last message, where he said, the media will take those statistics, portray the community as a community of criminals, and then any kind of police force can be used and meted out to people of color. You can be his words, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, or some other professional and be treated like just a brother on the street because the media has presented this statistical image of black on black crime and higher black crime, period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot to think about, a lot to consider. But in the meantime, we're going to be stay tuned, and we will be right back.